is going to be a bit different than usual. This video is a way for me to organize my thoughts and why exactly I think people must take this as seriously as I do. It's not going to be exhaustive by any means, but a start. I'm going to divide this essay in the following chapters. Linguistic. Why language matters and how AI companies leverage that. Cultural. How to create culture and fake problems in order to sell solutions. Psychological. How does the brain works and the way it could be exploited. Ethical. The scam that promises to replace workers and artists. Physical. How the scam is designed to extract money from everyone and makes them sicker as well. Conclusion. Why I think allowing this to continue in the way it is now is going to be devastating for the average person. Linguistic. I'd like to start in 1956 at Dartmouth College. An assistant professor, John McCarthy, decided to name a new discipline, artificial intelligence. The first try for naming it was automata studies. Not so successful. Why is this decision important? We kinda don't have a scientific consensus on what human intelligence is. It's pretty convenient to try and chase something like that, because when you don't have a certain benchmark for the thing, in this case, what exactly is human intelligence, you could theoretically say it's a lot of things. We can see that when companies use terms like artificial general intelligence, they can use it however they want, or whatever is convenient at the moment. At one point, it's supposedly a cancer curing machine, or it will cure poverty. Something like that. If they talk to consumers, depending on the consumer, of course, it's either going to make your work easier and you will have to work less because you hate your job and your boss. Or it's going to replace your workers if you're a dumb boss that has a big ego and a small something else. And of course, it could be defined as a money-generating machine that will make the rich even richer. In other words, when we don't have a good definition of something, you could easily sell it as a panacea of whatever would make people, governments, and companies give money to you. Why is it such a big deal? We often use words interchangeably and give them different meanings. Well, yes, but that could happen organically, like with slang. Or it could be a part of a dystopian future, like in Orwell's 1984. It's not a coincidence that the main thing there was policing language. Language is a very powerful tool. You express so many things like ideas, art, emotions, propaganda. If you say something enough times, you start to believe it. Language is great. I love it. It allows us to communicate on a deeper level, but that comes with the fact that you could use it in a different way. To call a statistical engine that is trying to predict output based on the data it is fed, intelligence is a very generous definition. You don't call the calculator on your phone intelligent, right? When you start attaching some words and phrases to something, it starts creating a culture around it, which is the next part I want to talk about. Cultural. I started with the inconsistent definition of artificial intelligence. It's a very powerful and, more importantly, marketable term. How does vibe coding, hallucinations, and agents sound? Or maybe a tech revolution? It's a vibe, man. It's chill, you could do it while drinking margarita on the beach. Do you know what has hallucinations? That's right, a human. This gives it a feeling that the overhyped statistical prediction calculator is sentient. It's a vibe, man. And so-called agents are a reference to the Matrix. Because what better way to sell an idea or a culture stapling old, well-known stuff to it? makes it more relatable. Just ask the Roman Empire. They made a cultural smoothie out of everything they conquered. Even their gods were rebranded Greek gods. Or how Christianity is a more boring version of beliefs that already existed. Revolution sounds like there's a big change coming out of this, and for good. But it's not good for you particularly. It's good for the tech feudals. One exploitable part of the culture we currently live in is that we don't have enough time, because it's not in the interest of companies to reduce the 9-to-5 scam. This is not from yesterday, and we have to thank another revolution for it. So we start in the 1960s. A couple of years in, the early 70s, labor productivity already started to outpace workers' compensation, wages plus benefits like healthcare and pensions. People might argue it's not such a clear picture from the 2000s onward because of factors like globalization and technology, aka how developed countries are migrating production to places where you could practically use workers as slaves and pay them next to nothing, so you could make better margins and profit. But that's another question. The bottom line is that on average we are much more productive, but wages are not growing at the same rate. On top of that, for the economy to work better and also to convince people that working yourself to the tombstone is a virtue, they had to create a culture convincing that hard work and growth is going to give you the good life. Here comes consumerism, the new religion that makes you addicted to buying more things, which is a great excuse to make all stuff more expensive and a lot more breakable. Sprinkle a little financial bubble here and there to destabilize the average person that doesn't have millions to begin with, and you have a burnt out worker who is not paid enough for the work done, has no energy and ambition at the end of the day, but at least the worker can afford to buy something to feel better, until that something breaks, because it's made to be broken. Here comes the promise to those people. AI is going to make you more productive and save you time. It's a vibe, man. You're going to earn more money and have the time to spend it too. Meanwhile, we promise to your boss he could fire you because now he could magically become an expert in anything with the help of our magic, totally sentient money-making machine, while calling them a genius at every step. We all want better lives. But when that is framed as a false dichotomy, meaning you have 5 choices and they're all bad for you and your needs, I reckon it's not much of a choice and more of your life is a game and companies dictate the rules of that game. Don't get me wrong, I'm far from a commie. I think they're idiots too. I'm mainly explaining this to show you why I think the disease that AI companies spread is so viral, because a lot of people are conditioned to like the idea of something making it easy for them. It could be because they see it as something convenient, or because it's easier than admitting you're a mediocre nobody that has no willpower to work on themselves. And also the get-rich schemes people who fall in the mediocre category as well, in my opinion. Meanwhile, the AI scam is working on the same scam that social media works. Give free stuff to people so they get so used to it that they become dependent. Once they are dependent, it is the time to extract money from them. Scammy G and friends saw Wally and said that auto guy sounds like an awesome idea. We have to lie to people that it's real and good for them. And just like in the movie, the best way to enslave people is to make them comfortable and stupid. That point brings me to the next chapter. Psychological. The human brain is just 2% of the body's weight, but 20% of its metabolic load. That's 10 times more expensive per gram than a muscle. And it's mostly fat. That little bugger is the reason we have art and technology, and that for the low price of around 20 watts. For a comparison, your laptop uses from 30 to 70 watts. As efficient as the brain is at doing what it does, it comes with some caveats. For example, human babies are dumb and are not able to function and survive by themselves. Time is needed to develop the good old noggin. Brains like to take shortcuts in order to be more efficient with its power usage. Fear is one of the shortcuts. So much so that people seem to be born with some hereditary fears that could become phobias. Fun stuff. The saying, "don't judge the book by its cover," is so funny to me, because all we do is that. You don't have a deep talk with a random person in public transport, and instead you conclude they are an idiot that has bad parents and no manners because they are blasting a TikTok on full volume. This, in a way, is a good thing, but it's prone to mistakes some of the time. And again, it's exploitable. The more things you could offload on a day-to-day basis, the more energy efficient you become. But this comes with a big but. When you have less resistance, just like a muscle gets smaller and weaker if you don't train it, the brain becomes lazier at what its capacity to function in a way that is needed. We all have heard and know theoretically what critical thinking is, but critical thinking is hard work, and you have to constantly train it in order to work somewhat decently. Now comes the overhyped calculator with promises of skipping this, or in the best case, enhancing it. But let's face it, most people, when given the chance not to think hard, are going to take it in a second, especially when they are constantly tired. This is in part because humans are wired to be like this, and that is a great way to make people dependent on something external. And you might say that we do the same with cars for traveling, phones for long-distance communication, and all the goods that make us more efficient at some task. The problem is when you try to outsource your critical thinking or whatever else to the overhyped calculator, it comes with a price. It's one thing not being able to recall most phone numbers because a device is keeping track of that, and it's a whole other thing to wrap your beliefs on the output of something that has a certain built-in to make a mistake, and also in the meantime is going to charge you an arm and a leg in the future. Different stakes. It's not a coincidence that companies are spending so much resources and human labor to make the AI seem like it responds more conversational. On top of that, make it sound friendly, and bam, you have desperate people falling in love with this crap, having psychosis. People ending it because an algorithm is a people pleaser. It's like having a lot of junk food at home while trying to lose some weight. Good luck with that and your everlasting will. You might say, if that's what the people want, give it to them. Well, criminals want what they want. That doesn't mean it's good for society to let them do whatever. With that said, I'd like to move on to the next chapter. Ethical. The AI scam that turns out, surprise Pikachu, to be a giant bubble. The whole point of making people into AI junkies is to extract as much wealth as possible from the middle class and low-paid workers. Why? Because it's easier. Buy yourself the researchers to shut them up about all the problems of the scam. Buy some politicians to lobby for every legislation that goes against the scam. Promise your rich buddies they're going to become richer, and voila, you have a self-propelling scam machine. I have to mention that I'm an artist, and the fact that all the art was stolen in order to make the calculator look like it's working is problematic. It's now painfully obvious that all the arguments against this are falling apart, because the technology is a direct competition for a lot of the jobs in the entertainment industry. Are music games, movies better now? Or we get worse versions of old things that lower the expectations of people, so they keep getting worse. People quickly forget how OpenAI was a non-profit organization, which was the whole premise of it's not stealing, it's just for research. And now what? It's a for-profit company that keeps stealing everything and anything in order to keep the scam alive. Big Tech joins the party, figures out that circular financing is a great way to make the bubble the biggest one we have ever had, and with that financial masturbation, they convince everybody that this technology and they are worth billions. I'm not even going to deeply argue if the thing that the calculator spits out is even art, because it can never be. There is a lack of intentionality, a human touch, that makes it just a boring, ugly in my opinion, and cheap trick. The computer-rendered artificial pictures, or for short, crap, have the same function as the glowing lure of the anglerfish. It's colorful and shiny enough to convince you from afar that it is something real, but when you come closer, the magic is broken. It's even worse than the anglerfish, because the anglerfish has the decency to eat you fast, and the crab is designed to convince a boss that hates the fact that they have to pay you money, and to convince the lazy person who has a low self-esteem that this is an easy win. Yay! Now I have value because I waited for a calculator to approximate something that might be classified as an image. If you say it will cure cancer or whatever, and all you do is invest in making it produce images and music in order to replace artists, you're blatantly lying to people. Or Google making its search engine worse so you could look at the AI results or use ChatGPT as a search engine. Lying. Let's not forget the new evergreen idiocy that Anthropic did with old and rare books. They bought a lot of old valuable books just to cut their spines, feed them to the calculator, and then completely destroy the books. Are they digitizing them to put them free on the internet so these things don't get lost and forgotten? No! Destroyed. Ray Bradbury is going to be sad but not surprised of how right he was in his Fahrenheit 451. All of this has physical consequences as well. Time for the next chapter. Physical. The big scam needs some components in order to keep working, at least for a while. One is money, and the other is data centers. Why is this bad, you ask? I'll tell you why. The money has to come from somewhere. The whole thing, as I understand it, is a big trust me bro that's going to work. Based on that, rich kids, monopolies, and banks are infinitely horny to make this scam work. So rich kids give money, monopolies make the circular financing trick, and banks use the people's pensions and money they don't really own to finance this delusion. And the whole business, if you could call this scam a business, is still working on giant losses with money they don't own. Trust the process, I guess, until everything goes bad. When the bubble pops, the people who are filthy rich are going to be okay, but you aren't. When you help tech bros to keep that scam by taking a part in this so-called revolution, you're giving your future and hard-earned money in order to create some ugly memes and barely working code. The next elephant in the room is the data centers. These giant behemoths that consume clean water and raise electricity prices for the people living near that crap. There's a problem with noise pollution, destroying lands that were meant for parks despite people being against it. It's so dystopian, it's not even funny. Colossus. Musk Data Center in Memphis, Tennessee and South Haven has dozens of unpermitted natural gas turbines that release massive amounts of nitrogen oxide, fine particulate matter, and greenhouse gases. So I guess Elon threw out the window his supposed concern about the planet. The families there can get used to asthma, lung cancer, and constant buzzing noises, I guess. They even have to pay more bills for that. How dare you think that this revolution needs legislation, taxes, regulations, etc. Aren't even a legitimate strategy to bring this dystopia to its full potential. Silicon Valley is delusional about how fast a physical thing could be built. Putting false projections based on, again, trust me bro, is so far from reality. If you like video games, good luck with building a computer that is affordable. The few companies that create video cards and RAM are on this wave of generate as much money as possible. They're essentially saying they don't need you as a customer. You don't matter. Just shut up and pay us to ruin the whole economy. Conclusion. As you might have guessed, I'm angry and I'm sad. Everything I love, do, and consider good is being demolished by some idiots that think the world should be theirs. These people are a viral disease. It's so powerful that the lie they keep saying that this is inevitable starts to feel true. But it's not true. If enough people take a stance against this, we might, if not cure them, at least contain that disease a bit better. Allowing monopolies to exist and the ultra-rich to pay essentially nothing gives those people immense power that is going to continue to grow exponentially and consume all the potential good future you're dreaming about. This scam is not designed for you to cheat the system, it's for them to cheat you out of it. I know that Soma sounds great to some people, but be brave. Don't waste your life on being a slave to idiots. The sad part is that there could be a discussion about good uses of this thing, but it all goes irrelevant because that is not the point of what actually is happening. In a perfect world, it could be a helpful technology in medicine, let's say. In art, however, there are no redeeming qualities even in a perfect world. If you want a more deep dive in the economy of AI bubble, be sure to check Exit Run. If you want to understand why everything is shitty now, the rise of monopolies, and how AI companies are making so that you help the technology and not the other way around, check Cory Doctorow. If you want to understand why tech bros are behaving like empires in time of supposed democracy, check Karen Howe. Let's not forget Yanis Varoufakis and why capitalism is now replaced by techno-feudalism. And last but not least, Gary Stevenson, who is going to explain to you why the uber-rich are screwing everyone else, making you poorer and having less each year. He's so sure he's betting on it. I will end on that note for now. Thank you so much for watching this video. It was a bit different to what I usually make, but if you like miniatures, card games, art, and games in general, you might like my other videos. Bye!